Hey everyone, welcome to the video. Going over my cheat sheet for the late main slate for today on DraftKings. Anyway, before we continue, if you could leave a like, subscribe to the channel, I really appreciate that. You can also follow me on Twitter at ChrisPinell16. If you want access to this cheat sheet, the pitching model, the hitting model, projections, Slack chat, daily write-ups, all that good stuff. You can hit the link in the description below and it'll take you to my Patreon. And so then we have over 65 members already, so a little bit over, I think it's around about a month's length. So really appreciative of all of you who have joined on Patreon to help support me even more. I appreciate everyone on YouTube as well. But it'll take you here. You can get the UFC sheet and the PGA. Andrew covers those, and he's been pretty much lights out so far. So it's really awesome having him. He's even on a cruise right now, and he's still doing our UFC and PGA content. So shout out to him. And then NASCAR, we have the NASCAR sheet. I revamped the NASCAR sheet, so those of you who have access to it now, you'll notice a difference. I think it's a lot cleaner, and I did update the way I would do projections, so I think those will be even more, just better overall. So you should enjoy that. Then we have the NFL sheet when NFL starts around September, so very excited for that. MLB, NASCAR and UFC bundle, save $1 on that, and then the All Access for $20, which I think is a pretty good value compared when you look at all these prices. So yeah, and then you get all access to all the Slack chats as well. So been having a very good season in all the sports, so if you are interested, I'd recommend joining in. Love to have you. Alright, anyway, enough commercial time. I have to do that every video because there's new people that tune into the videos every day, so I apologize to those of you who have to watch that every single day. Probably skip over it anyway, so it doesn't even matter. But anyway, let's get into the sheet, and that's the wrong sheet. That's the early slate sheet. So, alright, here we go. But anyway, so if you did get access to this, I'll show you the pitching model really quick, just an example. It's pretty much a whole database. I'm not like a lineup seller or anything, so I just want to give you guys the tools and just hopefully answer all the questions you need to help you build lineups, and I think I can do that. So anyway, yeah, this is what the pitching sheet looks like. It's pretty much got every single stat you need on here. Overall stats, splits versus lefties and righties. And then we got Vegas once that comes out, which might be out now, but I gotta import that. And then we got the opponents, how their statistics are looking. Then we got projections to the right, park factors, and all that. So all that good stuff. And I got that for hitters as well. So I think you'll like it. That's what I used to help make this cheat sheet. And I do think the cheat sheet does pretty well. So, all right, anyway, let's get into it. Mike Clevenger is my SP1 tomorrow at 9,900. I am an Indians fan, but I am putting my bias aside. I do think he's in a fantastic spot tomorrow. He's my favorite pitching option at the slate going against Detroit, who has struggled versus righties all season. They've actually gained some lefties recently in their lineup, but it's still overall not a good lineup. I mean, Victor Reyes, Kristen Stewart, Nico Goodrum, I mean, not too scared of that. And Clevenger's been pretty good this season. It's a smaller sample size because he's been hurt, but he does have a 39% K rate and a 2.58 xFIP, so he's got some good strikeout upside. And righties versus Detroit, I've been doing that a lot this season. So, and Plesac was actually having a pretty decent game until the weather yesterday. So, I mean, and Clevenger's a much better pitcher than him, so I do like Clevenger a lot. I do think the Indians are going to be able to support him for the win tomorrow, going against Spencer Turnbull in the bullpen. Then Chris Paddock, a little bit more expensive than I would like, because I do want these Dodgers bats, and they're expensive, but he should be lower than Clevenger. I expect Clevenger to probably be the highest owned pitcher. But he's having a pretty good season so far. He's got 3.91 xFIP, which is a little high, but nothing too bad. And then 26% K rate and a 5% walk rate, so that's good. The problem is he gives up a lot of hard contact at 46%, but the matchup in Miami is great. So I think that I can put that aside. But the Marlins did go off yesterday, so maybe that's a concern. But I do like Chris Paddock, but I'd much rather play Clevenger because I'm not going to be spending up for both because then I'm not going to be able to play any Dodgers. And I wasn't seeing really any big value guys I liked. Maybe I'll look into that more tomorrow. Well, I will look into that more tomorrow. But as of right now, farthest I want to go down is Kenta Maeda, where I feel safe. I said I like the Dodgers a lot, so he should be able to get the easy win as long as he doesn't get shelled, which he usually doesn't. He does stand out as a pretty nice value, though, at that price. And he doesn't have a ton of upside, but he's a solid bet for 15 to 20 points every start. Although he does have, I take that back, he does have some upside, because I know one start he had 41 points, but that's pretty much an outlier. But he's got the potential for it. And then a catcher, we got Chance Sisco, 4,600. He's got elite numbers versus righties this season, and Fetty is just not a good pitcher overall. And we're in Camden Yards, so that's a very hitter-friendly environment. And Sisco has a 390 ISO versus righties, so it's pretty darn good. And then James McCann, 4,100. He's been outstanding this season. He's a guy I love versus lefties. Then Jeff Mathis at 2K. We're going to have to save some salary somewhere, and I always like to do that at catcher. He's going to be able to open up our salary, because if we're playing up for Clevenger, and say we go with Maeda as our SP2, it's not like we're punting SP2, so we're going to have some savings somewhere. If I want to save at a position, I'm going to do it at catcher. And really, Mathis, all he needs is a hit. And then first base, Jock Peterson, 4,600. This is a core play for me tomorrow. The Dodgers find themselves, I feel like, in the same exact matchup the past 3 days. It's been against Velasquez. We're going up against Pivetta, and I forget the first, Eflin. So pretty much 3 righties in a row. We give a lot of power to lefties. Jock is elite versus righties, and Pivetta is giving up power to both sides of the plate. So I do like the Dodgers a lot. And then Matt Adams at 4,400. Like I always say, he does one thing, that's smash righties. And we got a bad one here in Brooks, plus the O's bullpen. And then Max Muncy, 5,100. Just load up these Dodgers lefties again. I believe he homered again. Peterson homered again. Bellinger homered again. So just load them up. And then at second base, we got Muncy again. Eric Sogard, 4,300. This is just a GPP only play, but I think it's a sneaky play tomorrow. 2 reverse splits lefties facing off. Sogard's got a 265 ISO versus lefties, and Erod is giving up a 270 ISO to lefties. That comes with a higher strikeout rate, but I do think this is a sneaky home run upset. Yeah, sneaky home run matchup here. Then we got Kip at 3,600, going back to the Indians well as they continue their series versus Detroit and their subpar pitching. Although Turnbull isn't the worst, but he's not the best, and that bullpen's horrible. And then third base, we got Rafael Devers, 5,700. He's super expensive, but he's an elite play versus Sanchez in that awful bullpen. And like I said, no one ever pays up for him. No one plays him, so he's going to be low owned. Although I will say it's going to be tough to go for him. He's going to be low owned for a good reason. But fantastic play. Then J-Ram, 4,400. I can see him being pretty popular. Price is creeping up, but love the Indians lefties in this one. Then Jake Lamb, 4K. So Chavez is actually pretty good versus lefties, but it's still a great park for hitting, and Lamb hits righties very well, and I'd take the upside of Lamb over Chavez. And then shortstop, Frankie Lindor, 5K, elite part of all Indian stacks. Can't leave them off if you're full stacking them. And then Corey Seager, 4,400, one of the few affordable pieces of the Dodgers stack, so I do like Corey Seager a lot. And then I almost made him a court play. And then Alberto Mondesi, 4,900. Noah has some pretty bad splits versus lefties, and Mondesi is elite speed paired with some pop as well, so I do like Mondesi. Can't imagine him having much ownership, especially with Frankie being 5K. And then in the high-end outfield, we have Cody Bellinger for the 800. He's the top play of the slate if you can afford him, which that's the problem because he's 5,800, but he's got 3 homers the past 2 games. He's on fire, and all the Dodgers, as are all the Dodgers, and I see it continuing tomorrow versus Pivetta. Then Mookie, 5,400. I can see the Red Sox maybe going a little overlooked with Dodgers, but not too overlooked. But because there's a lot of good offenses on the slate, but don't overlook the Red Sox bats versus Toronto. And then Yordan Alvarez, 4,900. Peña's a pitcher with some big splits versus lefties, where he's allowing a 270 ISO. I didn't mean to put 6. No, that's right. Never mind. 276 ISO versus them. And then in the mid-range outfield, we have JD Martinez and Benintendi, mid 4K. I believe JD is 4,800 and Benny is 4,500, so that's just a little bit too cheap for them. And especially how good of a matchup this is. And then Michael Brantley, 4,200. I have him as a core play, as I always do when he's facing a righty pretty much, especially in this price range. Loved him in the same spot right before the All-Star break. Lefties are the one to target versus Peña, and Brantley is way too cheap. And then Jock Peterson, I talked about him. I love him a lot. And then Pollock, 300, just cheap part of the Dodger stack. And Pivetta's giving up power to both sides of the plate. And then Jake Bauers, 3,600, just a cheap lefty on the Tribe. If we go to some of the core plays and stacks. So core plays for me are going to be Clevenger, Jock Peterson, and Michael Brantley. Just like the prices on those guys and their spots. And then for the top stacks, I got the Dodgers, the Indians, the Red Sox, and the Diamondbacks. Alright guys, that's all I have for the video. Remember to leave a like, subscribe to the channel, I really appreciate that. You can also follow me on Twitter at ChrisPennell16. If you want access to all the sheets, hit the link in the description below. Take you to my Patreon. Alright guys, I wish you guys the best of luck tomorrow, and I'll see you next time.